The latest is our very own Brian Windhorst. Windy, the Nets already shipped out Kyrie. What else could we see from them before the deadline?
Well, Bax, I think that they want to be more active, but I'm not so sure they're seeing a fertile market. And in talking to league executives, one of the reasons is because there's teams out there that are looking to trade for Kevin Durant. Maybe not this week, obviously. I don't think that's happening. But this summer, there's an expectation that Durant may revisit his trade request, and that with Kyrie Irving gone, that the Nets may look at it differently. So a team like the Raptors, who was ripe to make deals, is also ripe to make a Kevin Durant trade offer this summer. So part of the reason why I'm not sure the Nets are going to be able to do anymore, and part of the reason why we might see some deals that could have been more significant not happen, is that the whole league is kind of waiting to hear from Durant and having the expectation that Durant will be the next big star out of Brooklyn eventually.
Meantime, maybe it works out for the Lakers that they didn't get Kyrie because they can just sign him for the money if he's available in the offseason, not give up any assets. On the other hand, that's a risk because who knows what happens between now and then. LeBron says his focus has shifted away from Kyrie. So if they do decide to pursue someone, who could they be focused on before the deadline, Windy?
Yeah, so I think if you look at what the Lakers just did, they put both of those draft picks in play for Kyrie Irving. Now, there isn't another Kyrie Irving, but that means that their fidelity to holding on to those picks has loosened a little bit in recent months. So if they made an absolute priority to upgrade this roster in the next 2 days, they could, because those draft picks have value. There is possibility of talks with a couple of sellers. The Utah Jazz, who have a couple of different options, particularly Malik Beasley, who's a three-point shooter, Jared Vanderbilt, a backup forward, maybe Mike Conley, who could come in and be a point guard. I would also say the team to watch that's low-key, it would be the Charlotte Hornets. They've been having discussions about potentially dumping some salary. They have a couple of guys on their roster, potentially Terry Rozier, that maybe the Lakers would have interest in. But it's important to realize something, Max, when you think about the Lakers. If they trade Westbrook or trade Patrick Beverley, which is the other candidate for them to trade, they potentially remove their cap space this summer. And they basically say, we're going to now lock this team in. And that's where they got into trouble here. By locking themselves into Russell Westbrook and not having flexibility to get out, they lock themselves in. And I think one of the things that they're debating is, do we make a deal to marginally improve and then cut off our windows for bigger improvement this summer? And that is a relic, a tax, a penalty that carries over from the original Westbrook trade that's limited their opportunities.
Quickly, Windy, do you have any sense of where LeBron is with it, though? That whether he'd prefer some marginal benefit now and keep the door open for Kyrie, whether he wants to push the chips in now or whether he wants to wait?
LeBron wants it all. LeBron doesn't want to wait. LeBron wants everything, but he has continued to give the Lakers patience and slack. He signed the contract extension before the season, meaning there's no pressure for his salary, his contract this summer. And he just said yesterday to Michael Wilbon, he's cool and thinks this team can make a run. He continues to give the Lakers opportunity, and I think the Lakers should value that, and it won't put pressure on them to have to do something.
Thank you very much. Welcome to this Just In a Fast Hour around the world of sports and how I and some of my friends here see it. That is Tim Legler, and we start with LeBron's chase of Kareem. LeBron and the Lakers are playing the Thunder tonight, against whom the King has averaged 28 points a game for his career. So 8 over his average, and it is history in the making. Entering tonight's game against the Thunder, as I mentioned, he needs 36 points to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the all-time NBA scoring list. The record has stood for nearly 40 years since Kareem passed Wilt Chamberlain in April of 1984. Tim Legler, how would you best describe this accomplishment by LeBron?
I think it's a byproduct of a guy that always did what he had to do as a scorer to give his teams a chance to win. He's different than the other guys in the top 5 on the scoring list who were raw offensive weapons that were trying to get buckets virtually every time they touched the basketball in the half-court set. That wasn't really LeBron. So I think the best way to look at this is just put it in perspective and call it what it is. When you combine the playmaking with the scoring, this is the greatest offensive generator in the history of the league, and that's the best way to describe it. He's talked often about not being a guy ever expected to be in this role because he didn't look at himself as a scorer first. The guy did take 20 shots a game for 20 years. Okay, so you are looking to get some buckets when you shoot that much. But I think his point is he always was a guy that did what he had to do in the moment as a scorer. When you add up the longevity, you add up the way he's taking care of himself to be able to do it at this age, and the fact that he never had a significant career-altering injury allowed him to eventually be standing here on the precipice of a record that I personally did not think was going to be broken.
Yeah, his scoring was incidental to making the team as good as he could make it, right? Like, let's never forget Matthew Dellavedova as his second best player. He almost chipped up against the Warriors before he did so the following season. Quick yes or no, does he get it done tonight?
Only if he has to. If it's tight late and he's got to score, he will. Otherwise, no. I think he gets a few points short and saves it for the Bucks on Thursday.
Skyhook playing for Kareem's team against Kareem's old team, right?
Exactly right.
LeBron will have the scoring record shortly, but he will not have Kyrie Irving for the stretch run. Listen to what LeBron had to say about missing out on his team trading for his former teammate.
I can't sit here and say I'm not disappointed on not being able to land such a talent, but someone that I had great chemistry with and know I got great chemistry with on the floor that can help you win championships in my mind, in my eyes. But my focus has shifted now. My focus has shifted back to where it should be, and that's this club now and what we have in the locker room.
He need Kyrie to do something this season?
Yeah, to win it all, to contend. Yeah, I still think that they can be dangerous. There's a handful of teams that can be really dangerous that have, for whatever reason, underachieved, whether it's injuries or roster additions that they're making throughout the season, whatever it may be. There are a handful of teams in the same category. Lakers are a dangerous team. Do you really want to play, if AD's healthy, AD, LeBron, Westbrook, in a first-round playoff series if you're Denver, Memphis, or Sacramento? I don't think you're going to want that. So they're still dangerous, but they're not a contender in terms of winning a championship or getting to the finals without that Kyrie Irving trade.
Yeah, wouldn't be interesting. And who knows how it turns out. But if Kyrie really does want to sign with the Lakers, and they can wind up, because they ain't winning anything this year anyway, as you said, most likely not, but they could wind up with him next year.
Right.
They don't have to give anything up but the cash.
That's right. He could walk. This is a 2 or 3 month tryout with the Dallas Mavericks.
I am Max Kellerman. Welcome to this Just In, a fast hour around the world of sports and how I and some of my friends here see it. That is Tim Legler, because we are starting with Kyrie Irving, as you have no doubt heard by now. The Brooklyn Nets have traded Kyrie Irving to the Mavericks. Kyrie now joins Luka Doncic in Dallas and is expected to make his Mavericks debut Wednesday against the Clippers in LA. The Mavs had 22-1 odds to win the NBA title on Sunday morning. After trading for Kyrie Irving, Dallas has moved to 14-1. That's good for the 8th shortest odds in the association. The Mavs are currently the 6th seed in the West. NBA analyst Tim Legler with me. Legs, what do you think about the Mavs making this trade for Kyrie?
I'm surprised that Dallas would buy into this right now. You're talking about acquiring the most restless player, right, maybe in the history of the league. So I think it's a little bit of a desperation move, a panic move on the part of the Mavericks in this regard. They're looking at the team they have now that went to the conference finals a year ago. They lost Brunson in the offseason. And now they're basically a 500 team. And every time Luka Doncic is off the floor, they have nowhere to go to generate offense. And the statistics bear that out. So they've answered that. Now you've got a guy, now you don't have to worry. You always have one superstar on the court. You run your offense through him. My biggest question is, when they're out there together, how is this going to look? I'm a little bit surprised Luka would sign off on it. I think stylistically there's an issue. I think stylistically they're going to have a problem.
There's so much here. First of all, the Mavericks have to operate in this situation, in my opinion, like an Indiana or a small market team. For whatever reason, maybe because the Cowboys are in town, whatever it is, they are not a magnet for top free agents. So when you have a singular talent like Luka Doncic, and you tried with Porzingis, that's not really it, and a guy like Kyrie becomes available for all his warts, a transcendent talent, I think you have to try. You gotta see if it works. Usually, guys this good